ADHD which you had all your life.
Hi guys, I'm Cal from TwpZen. I'm the CEO, the Chill Enforcement Officer, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my ADHD diagnosis, kind of show you the differences between anxiety, depression and ADHD, some of the phone call where I actually got diagnosed, something I've been waiting for 3 years. Just wondering what's going wrong with me and why I couldn't fix my anxiety, my depression, why I kept falling into these depressive cycles, lifetime of anxiety. Despite the last 5 or 6 years now, I've been slowly building up this mental health routine, doing loads of things, cold showers, exercising, meditating, breathing exercises, and it felt like my life was just harder than everyone else's. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that feel the same. With ADHD as well, everyone has ADHD symptoms, but it's difficult because ADHD people have all of them, and that's why some people criticize me for self-diagnosing when, everyone just forgets things every now and then. Everyone just is clumsy every now and then, and it's hard to focus.
Focus! Concentrate!
And I've been doing this mental health routine, as you see in my other videos, for a few years now. Now I'm hitting the ground running with my new medication and diagnosis, rather than what I would have probably done before, just rely on the medication as a crutch, and then the diagnosis as an excuse. But luckily I was forced to wait. Life had just set me up this hurdle, and now I'm grateful to myself that I forced myself to get better again, doing cold showers and working out and meditating, breathing exercises, all that kind of stuff, to be at peace. And I've never been so happy the last couple of weeks. It's all just coming into place, and now I feel like I'm really excited to be able to push through this mental health stuff and really try and help people, knowing that I don't feel like a hypocrite anymore and I can be helpful.
Help me!
So I'm going to interdisperse some clips of the phone call, which I'm not really sure if you're allowed to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm not going to show you the vast amount of questions that I got. I'll just give you a quick speed run of certain things.
Very often. Yeah, very often. Yeah, very often. I guess I'd say often. Yeah, very often. Very often. Very often. And this goes sometimes in yeah. Yeah, very much so. Very often. So very often. Very often. Yeah, very often. Yeah, very often. Yeah, very often on that one.
Are we going sometimes or often?
Often on that one. Oh, right. Very often. Often. Very often. Often on that one. I'm very, very bad at that, so yeah, very often. Very often, if that's the same. I don't know.
Maybe give you some honest overshares, I guess, which is a symptom of ADHD, which is again why I'm kind of annoying to some people. It's just once I start talking, I don't stop. Yeah, growing up I was shy, then I was introverted, then I was anxious. Again, labels that were put on me that I self-identified with projection you put out into the world. If I felt I was introverted and I put that out into the world and acted introverted, then people treated me like I was an introvert, and then I'd have no choice but to be that character. I couldn't show the confidence that I actually do feel within myself. I feel like a cocky little shit sometimes. A lot of the time I was just too anxious to speak up. I'd be too worried about my panic attacks going on relentlessly throughout my 20s. So yeah, it's finally a wave of relief now that I know what's going on. Yeah, now I feel like I'm not anxious anymore. I do still have anxiety bits that are still there, but through the work I've been doing, again, if you've watched the other videos, I've really, really reduced my anxiety, and the future's looking super, super bright.
My eyes, the goggles do nothing.
So I'm not going to go over some of the overshares. Obviously, I do talk about primary school, making friends, struggling to focus, my impulsivity, a lot of mood changes. Again, I do perceive myself to be a very nice person, but there is a demon inside me.
Do it.
There is anger, there is resentment and spite.
So basically, do you feel extremely agitated inside, although outwardly you might appear to be calm? That's what it means.
Yeah, very often. Thankfully, I can recognize that from my own family. No, not going down that rabbit hole, but sometimes you've got to be grateful to see the people around you and go, wow, that's what I'll end up like if I don't really, sit down, have a stern word with myself and start doing stuff I don't want to do, because that's what lies in front of me, and that's not something I want to do. So with ADHD as well, it is passed on genetically a lot of the time, and it is also brought on by a chaotic upbringing, which thankfully I had both, so nailed on for me, lucky boy. With self-diagnosing, it's not something that's encouraged, and people, when I did finally go, I think I have ADHD, light bulb moment for me, probably the biggest moment of my life. And then trying to tell people and friends and stuff, and they're like, are you self-diagnosing? Wow, dude, that sucked. Yeah, and it was one of those frustrating moments. It's I had the answer, and then people were still kicking me while I was down. So had to wait 3 years. So unfortunately for me, I called my GP and asked about ADHD for the first time in the middle of lockdown. Fun little story. I was actually watching Lamb of God, one of my favourite bands. I was watching one of their documentaries where they were talking about one of the guitarists, and just the way he wrote music sporadically, wasn't all in one. And they was like, oh yeah, it's because he's got ADHD. And I was like, excuse me, what was that? Because I was like, that's how I write songs. I can't finish a song. I have to do little tidbits here and there impulsively when I get these feelings, but I can't focus. So yeah, I started learning about ADHD, and then same as when I got anxiety, I was like, tick, 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 tick.
First question, do you frequently make careless mistakes because you're not paying attention?
Very often.
Tick, 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 tick. I see in a little bit now. No! 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 That is you. So yeah, I was watching this Lamb of God documentary, and then I saw Mark Morton, one of my favourite guitarists from Lamb of God, the riff machine, and they were describing how he came up with his riffs, and he couldn't really put everything in order to make a song from start to finish, and they described it as ADHD, and I was like, oh, okay, what's all that about? Because that's me, man, that's me. So I started going through Google, going through YouTube, going through like unofficial tests, which you're not encouraged to do, but if you have ADHD and you're like super, super depressed and super anxious and can't work out what's going wrong, then why wouldn't you have a look? So self-diagnosing, isn't recommended because a lot of people do have ADHD symptoms, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, called up my GP in the middle of lockdown after doing a couple of these online tests. I think I've got ADHD. They were very, very busy. It was a global pandemic, I'm sure. They had other things to worry about than some guy who's sad sometimes. So yeah, it's been painful 3 years, but again, 3 years of hurdles that I've had to get over, and just that I've got something to aim for now. And that's one of my problems, is that sometimes if I don't have a goal, a direct goal that I know is certain going to happen,
It was never in doubt.
and it's hard to focus, and I'll meander, I'll get distracted. Having that just over the horizon, they said 2 years, and it was another 6 months, then another 6 months after that, and now finally the time has come. I had a perfect time as well, because my routine has never been harder, never been more fun, and I've never been in such good shape mentally or physically, and now I've got the diagnosis on top. TwpZen, let me tell you. So I'm not going to go over all the symptoms of ADHD, that would take too long, even though I do love oversharing, which is a big symptom of ADHD. But part of that is like being annoying, and that's something that I've had to come to terms with over the years, because I feel like when I'm with people, we have a great laugh, we have good times, but then when I'm by myself and people want to just talk, it doesn't happen. I overthink text messages, which is really bad. So I just don't end up sending it back. So if you're waiting for a text off me, chances are I've read it going, I'll make a joke. Oh, that's not funny. Oh, I'm 2 days, 3 days, it's too late to respond then. So that's probably very common with ADHD folks. That realization that I am kind of annoying when I get excited, especially when I talk about mental health stuff, everyone just immediately fun fact for you, this is actually the face that got me sacked for one of my jobs, which put me into the worst depression of my life. So, this is my normal resting face. 80-hour work week. It's coming in my day off. You sacked me. Thanks. Anyway, let's not get distracted, ADHD boy. So the point is, I know I'm a little bit annoying at sometimes. I do have to rein that in and try and be succinct with what I'm actually saying, because I've studied body language a little bit, just for like 5 minutes. I understand when someone's like not into hearing about mental health, which is very difficult, I guess, when I'm trying to help people with mental health issues who don't want to do anything. But again, I know what that feels like, because that was me for like 25, nearly 30 years of my life, But I just want to show you a little bit of a clip from my phone call where you could see the psychiatrist who's getting annoyed with me because I was oversharing and rambling on like I'm doing right now.
I didn't realise up until obviously 2.5 years ago that I may have ADHD. I thought I was just depressed and anxious.
Can I to the point, please?
Okay.
Okay, because it's not a therapy session, okay?
Okay, I'm oversharing, I know.
This is a factual collection of information, and just as brief as possible.
I enjoyed that. Yes. Okay.
The point, yeah?
Yeah.
That all that is not going to help me. Okay. So, Callum,
I know. Okay.
What, to the point, okay, Callum?
Sure. It's been so long.
The question is, how do, that's what I'm asking, so you don't exist. The options are the same.
Oh, very often then.
To the point, Callum, to the point. Yes, I know this isn't a therapy session either, but you're choosing to watch this, so it's different, you're not getting paid for it. There are positives to ADHD, and there are a lot of negatives when, you're unmedicated and you don't know what's going on. So I'm not going to make it a depressing video, but a lot of them come down to like this bad moods just happening out of nowhere, and just frustration, and the again, lack of knowing what's going on, not knowing if I had ADHD for 3 years.
Do you find that your mood can change frequently during the day, where you get upset for little or nothing?
Yeah, I can sometimes control it, but most of the time, if it's like, even if there's like hair on my face, or like there's too much noise outside, or the sound of the air in the room, it makes me tense up. Like I clench my fists, I grit my teeth. Sometimes I like to pull my hair out or hurt myself, and then majority of the time I break my possessions. So I'm currently looking at my computer, which I've smashed up. My phone is smashed up with things. I'm not an aggressive person, but when I feel like I'm spiraling, or I'm in a meltdown and I can't control anything, then I have to throw whatever's in my hands or smash something to feel better. I don't like it at all.
Again, I do feel like I'm a nice person, but there is a devil in me, and it's just me now training myself to not listen to that guy and just be as pure and honest as I can.
Any history of self-harming at all?
Not consciously.
But sometimes, yeah, it does get the best of me, and I do like self-harm a little bit. Not like crazy, obviously I've never touched my wrists or slit anything like that, or bad stuff really, but I do have like impulsive stuff, so like all the fingernails. They're looking pretty good now. Okay? So you can see like all that scar tissue there on my hair, or sometimes I punch myself in the head. And when I say it out loud, that sounds mad, but I didn't even recognize I was doing it, in the moment, bam, bam. And it was just a coping mechanism, and then immediately I'd forget about it, so I had no idea I was doing it really. It's not something I thought about, but when I was doing it, I was like, wow, I'm doing it again. It is hard to regulate your emotions with ADHD, so I did struggle with that a lot. This is why most of my friendships have crumbled away really, because I was too busy dealing with what's going on in here, or not dealing with it, just trying to like shut it up and just curl in the fetal position under my covers, And a term I'm trying to like put into a visual, hopefully I'll get it behind me now. I remember growing up, well, I don't really watch X-Men or that kind of stuff, but there was one guy, and he opened their eyes and this big laser shooting out everywhere, not in one direction like Superman, just everywhere. And then he puts on these like specs, like that guy from Star Trek, and then you can focus in and you can shoot them wherever. So that's what ADHD feels like for me. Up until I started really getting into this routine, I have massive creativity, massive passion, big sense of justice, and doing the right thing and being a good person, and just emotional. I'm very emotional, but it was just all the time, and I could never just sit down and put things in place. Like I said, I've been trying to do this TwpZen website for a long time. I've been paying for it for over a year now, and it's only lately I've been able to like put things in place so it doesn't look like just a word project from school, Now I'm finally able to just focus in, and again, the medication does help with that, but I'm not using it as a crutch. But it is definitely a bonus. It puts me in a baseline dopamine is much higher. With creativity, really good, but then obviously you get depressed when you can't focus on to finish the creativity stuff. So again, like I talked about with the music, I have like 100 songs half written. I've got like 2 albums. I'm like, oh, they're really close to being done, that I've been sitting on for 3 or 4 years, and I think they're quite good as well. So hopefully one day they'll be out there. But again, this downside as well. So insomnia, I really struggled with insomnia for my entire life. Very few childhood memories. Again, I think that comes in with like some childhood trauma stuff. I don't remember a lot of childhood, but I do remember just staring at the ceiling or the bunk above me, And that carried on through uni, and then just self-medicating then through my 20s just to get to sleep. Very common with ADHD people as well. Yeah, I just want to like kind of finish up the video again. It wasn't really much point. This is more for me to look back on in a couple of years with a lot of pride and go, wow, this is hopefully the time in my life where things really started to propel me forward and do the things I've been dreaming about for a long time. Again, TwpZen has never looked better. I'm consistent with these videos. I'm putting them out every week. yeah, things are going really well. I really want to continue being helpful. I do feel I have like a unique take on mental health, where I'm trying to make it fun and entertaining and sneaking a little bit of knowledge every now and then and push you off to the right people. So I do talk about Andrew Huberman a lot, big Andrew Huberman fan, David Goggins, Jordan Peterson. Again, he takes a lot of flack, but his words are good. The way he puts them across ain't so good. Joe Rogan as well. I probably missed a few on Jocko Willink. And one of my friends actually from uni, who we didn't have many interactions with in uni. I always thought he was really cool. But his name is John, and he does Stoic work. He does the Stoic Handbook, and he's been reaching out every now and then, giving me some advice. And yeah, he's a genius. So hopefully I'll be pushing you on to these people, and then you'll be able to get on this journey with me and start talking to me about it and start helping yourself. But in the meantime, I'm going to be the mental health middleman.
Oh, friend! Oh, new friend! Oh, friend!
Make it fun, entertaining, so you're not thinking of mental health is sitting on a couch talking to your therapist, asking, how does that make you feel? Because that doesn't sound fun. It's a low dopamine task. It's not going to make you excited or motivated to do it. So yeah, I want to be helpful. I want to share my journey as honestly, as openly as possible. Yeah, I'm not sure how the editing is going to go for this video. I'm not sure how to make it as fun as the other ones, but thank you for sticking with me. I will poke around on TwpZen.com. It's pretty good now. Videos are coming along, so subscribe if you want to see more of them and follow me along with this journey. And also, like, just get in touch, because if you've got something you want to talk about or you want me to do a video on it, I can do a deep dive or try and find the positive and the negative. It's something I'm really passionate about as well. Despite, whatever, anything bad, I know this, people can make a joke, but there is a positive to everything that happens. Everything is just how you think about it, and that isn't easy. Again, this journey hasn't been quick. It's been a few years of this put together, but don't get put off by that. I've taken the long road, tried the shortcuts, and it always led me back to the start. So yeah, I hope you can join me on this little journey, and I do hope I am making mental health fun for you. If not, then thanks for watching regardless, I appreciate it. Alright, out, TwpZen, catch you in the next video, and if you've got a friend with ADHD, please be nicer to them, because they've got it rough, I tell you now. Alright, take it easy.
So Callum, the main focus of the assessment today was to see if you have ADHD or not.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that yes, you do indeed have ADHD, which you had all your life.
Okay.
And anxiety is very common in people with ADHD, and so is depression, and you had both of them as well.
Oh, do I get a certificate with I've got ADHD on it?
What do you need? Why do you need that? It's not something anybody has asked.
I've got ADHD. I've had it all my life. I've got ADHD. I've had it all my life. I've got ADHD. I've had it all my life. I have ADHD. Now what? My life has just changed in 45 minutes and 55 seconds. Come on, ADHD boy, let's do some work.